1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters don't move. Whatever click you choose, you better.
At some point in time, you told me that they moved you to Salinas Valley. You opened up Salinas Valley.
Yeah, after the incident with Sergeant Neese, after that incident, they closed the yard, shut the yard down, and started transferring. So everybody, I'm saying everybody on the top bunks went to Salinas Valley. Everybody on the bottom bunks, I think they opened up High Desert or Susanville, whatever prison. I think it was High Desert, one of them prisons. And I ended up going to Salinas Valley May 2nd, 1996.
And so explain to everybody what's it like opening up a brand new prison? Because for those of you guys who don't know, Salinas Valley at that time had been freshly built, and they were starting to send people up in there to fill the cells in the buildings and stuff like that. I got to Salinas in August in 96 of August.
Yeah.
And it was the first cell that I went into still had saws and screws and stuff on the place.
Yeah, yeah.
But explain what's that like opening up a brand new prison in terms of the politics and stuff like that.
We went there. We were with nobody. We were the first 19 cells. The other cells still had the level ones, the people that actually helped build. I guess they probably helped build the prison. They was on the other side. It's only 19. We was in the first 19 cells. We get on the yard. There's absolutely nothing on the yard. There was a soccer goal on the yard. That was it. There was no grass. There was nothing. 2 building was full of sawdust. They made me a porter just to go clean up the other buildings that was empty, to get all the sawdust and all that shit. So every day I was going to the buildings just cleaning out cells, And then the next day the Folsom bus came. The new Folsom bus came because remember they had that ride in New Folsom that the other brother was talking about. They had that ride at New Folsom, and that bus came. That bus came up there, and that had all them G's from that New Folsom yard that came up there. But the other yards at Salinas Valley were the politicking yards. B yard was a strong politicking yard. C and D yard were definitely politics because that was the 180 yards.
Right. I was on D yard.
Yeah, A yard was, we were rocking and rolling, but there was not one racial riot on that yard. Besides when the white boys and the Mexicans got into it over a baseball game. But
was you on the yard when that happened?
I was coming through work change trying to get in the canteen. And I was sitting there watching the baseball game, laughing at my drunk white partner. He was drunk. He started it. He was drunk. And he hit the ball, ran to first base, and he tried to run the first baseman over, man, which was a Southsider. He tried to run him over, and he hit the Southsider, ran him over. He was drunk though. Hit the Southsider, ran him over. The Southsider got up and just took off on him. Next thing you know, the whole yard just went up. Everybody, whites coming from this way, Southsiders coming from that way, and it was a big old ride right then and there. It was the funniest ride I ever seen, though.
So in a situation like that, when you're on the yard, you have 2 opposing factions get into it that you're not part of. What do all the brothers do? All
the brothers, I was in the canteen line. A lot of brothers, they help soon before they get down. First, when they yell down, everybody surveillance the yard. The real soldiers ain't getting down until we know what's going on. So I was already watching. So the first initial, everybody down on the yard. So first initial get down on the yard, everybody looks up, look at the incident. We make sure you got to surveillance, make sure ain't no blacks getting into it, make sure ain't no blacks near it, and make sure it's just them. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that yard was kind of like, it wasn't really tripping like that. So you can walk over here. You might be able to sit with your partners, or in other cases, in other yards, we always try to find our own kind of sit with, you know, just in case it kicks off. But since that was an issue with the whites and the Mexicans, none of the blacks really tripping. So we just sat down where we sat down at.
Right.
We wasn't even tripping.
Now, have you ever been on any yards where white Crip or white blood or Mexican Crip or Mexican blood showed up?
Yeah, I was on the yard with in New Folsom with Goldie. And I was in Solano with Knockfire. I was in Solano, but I was on one side where they had the white boy came on the other yard, and they went at it. Yeah. But that was in New Folsom. New Folsom was the first time I actually like really met a white gang member, man. I came from Salinas 2005. I did 2 years in the hole and then went to New Folsom. You know, I did 2 years in the hole and went to New Folsom, level 4 side, the same yard the brother was on when they had the same yard, but I was on the we went to the C yard. I was on C yard. And that was the first time I ever met. When I met Goldie, he was from Redwood City neighborhood. And I gotta say that dude was squabble. He was a fighter. And I met I met John. I met John. And I had a homeboy named Ghost. He was from Villagetown, Paru. Yep, that was the first one I ever met. And he was like one of the downest youngsters I ever met.
And so were the white dudes who was on the yard, was they trying to get those guys off the yard? Or
in New Folsom, no. New Folsom, it wasn't. New Folsom, I don't believe. I never. If they were, it wasn't no incident reported to me. So I ain't never. Ghost lasted on the yard, never with no issues. Nobody ever said nothing. Ghost was a blood, and nobody said nothing. Goldie was on the yard. Goldie was having issues within his own card on some of the stupid stuff he was doing. That was about it. But every time they tried to bring an issue to him, Goldie was handling his business. So, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say weak. I ain't gonna say none of them was the ones I met. I ain't met no soft ones.
Right.
All the ones I have met, they come and they represent. So it was surprisingly, but all the ones I met, they come and do their thing, man. If they was Crips, they really cripping. You know what I'm saying? If they was Bloods, they was real Bloods. They was showing up. Until I got to Solano, and that was a level 3. I had went down. I did 5 years in New Folsom, and went to Solano, and then my points had dropped, but they didn't drop. They overrided me and sent me there. That was the first time where I seen that the whites was like, actually can't none come to the yard. They had a little young white dude, his name was Rebel, and he was pushing that line like, you can't have no whites on this yard. I mean, no white gang members. And I used to be like, what are you tripping on? If you really thought about it, what you mad for? They killing blacks. He started laughing. And I said, so what are you mad for?
Yeah.
If you got a white, it's a stupid ideology. It's stupid. It's real stupid. But why are you mad? What the hell you mad at? You got this white boy, part of a black gang, out on the streets killing other blacks. What the hell are you mad about? Stupid.
Right. And you know what? I've never heard nobody express that, and that does make a lot of sense. I guess though they just feel that in prison, a white person, a white dude running with the blacks is a race traitor, and in the event, they, of course, you already know if they happen to get into it.
Yeah. That's what it was. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah, that's all they look at it as a race traitor. But you had like my little homie Ghost. Man, this dude ain't never seen a white family in his life. He came out the womb raised with a black family. So how you gonna tell this man, besides his skin color, that he's just a white boy or a peckerwood?
Yeah.
You can't tell him that.
Right.
This dude ain't never had a white family in his life. This dude was raised in the ghetto with a black family.
So he was adopted. He was adopted
was
by a black.
at birth, raised, adopted at birth with a black family. So how can you tell this dude that he gonna be a peckerwood? He don't even know what that is.
Right.
You know, you can't tell. And I empathize with that brother because you couldn't tell him that. You know what I'm saying? That his love didn't come from our culture. He got more love from our culture. We gave him an identity. His identity was with us. And that's what we do to a lot of other cultures. We give them identities and then they turn around and hate us. You listen to our music, you dress like us, you act like us, then you hate us.
And so do you know if the guy that you're just talking about right now, if he had any firsthand experience of being confrontational with the whites who was upset with him for running with the brothers?
He might have did before he got the Folsom, but I never really he's never really, when I met him, he never really expressed that to me.
Right.
You know, but back then he was kind of on the younger page. So I was a little bit older. I was a little bit older then. So he was kind of on the younger page. So, you know, I hid and bought him. I embraced him and gave him and showed him that love. But, you know, he never told me about any confrontations about being white or getting into it. But I'm pretty sure in his trials and trips, you know, through prison system, I'm pretty sure he went through some things.
Right. And so you had spoke to me about you ran across the rapper X-Raided in Salinas Valley.
Yeah. I met X-Raided, man, and we were in 5 building together. I met X-Raided. His celly was Dog. You know what I'm saying? And they was cool. You know what I'm saying? They used to sit at the table and hold little rap concerts, you know. And I used to like him because he used to bring, you know, when he started rapping, all the girls come. You know what I'm saying? So you got the little fine COs coming over there now, you know. Hey, you know what I'm saying? You bringing the women over here, so I don't mind. And we actually was, you know what I'm saying? We smoked weed and all that stuff together. It was cool.
Right.
But I had went to the hole out of 5 building. I went to the hole. I was in 5 building, I ended up going to the hole. I got out the hole, and I was in 1 building, and I ain't even have my property yet, man. And so I'm sitting in the cell with my celly. I'm on this bunk. We doing our thing, blowing, you know, smoking weed, and the news come on. So when the news came on, you know, these people get on the news and like, man, this dude is making music, man. And then they play one of his songs, man. And the dude made a song. It was like, I'm kicking in doors, killing mamas and kids. They played it on the news, man.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sitting there, we looking at it, and you know, I didn't really pay it no mind. I'm like, oh well. So the building just happened to be real quiet, man. And all I hear was G Slim. And I'm like, man, if my home, my silly, like, man, they calling you, dog. And I go to the door. I was like, what's up, man? It's like, you see that? I'm like, yeah. It's like, what's up? I said, man, I got it in the morning, man. So next morning we go out, and man, my homie come up and was like, yeah, he got to go, man. Now, mind you, the brother that this incident happened, he's on, you know, his family, he's on the yard. You know what I'm saying? It had to be one of my homies. That was my homie's family. So the brother is on the yard.
And so for those who don't know about the situation, who may have never heard of him, X-Raided is a rapper from Sacramento. And so what was the people that upset about, if you can set the scene for us?
The people were upset about his mix. He was making mixtapes in prison and was getting them out through the prison and still making music. But the verses, the family was angry at him making music, still making money, but they're also angry at the verses that he was spitting, glorifying the case. In that case, somebody's mother ended up dying. They end up kicking in the house, kicking in the door, and killing somebody's mother. Now, whether he had anything to do with it, you know, or he was there or anything like that, I knew about it, but who's to say? I don't know anything about the case.
Right.
You know? And I just know what the brother told me that's his family. You know what I'm saying? But you own the yard. Why you ain't dealing with it? And that's my whole thing. That goes back to saying, now when I tell you the story, this goes back to saying what my big homie Ragtime told me. You know what I'm saying? You're the ripple effect of what happens. You're the pebble that goes in the water, and remember there's a ripple effect. So the next day I come out, we have a meeting on the yard.
Now, when you say we, who are you talking about?
I'm talking the Bloods.
Okay.
The Bloods come out, have a meeting. I'm the YGs. I'm the wild one, so I like to play anyway.
And so real quick, one more time, I hate to interrupt. So let me get this straight. There was a dude on the yard who was related to someone in the case that X-rated that came to prison for.
There was a dude actually related. It was actually his auntie that was killed. It was his auntie. So when we had a meeting on the yard, now we didn't listen. We listened, but we didn't listen to the whole thing. Now I make my way over. We walk over there, and me and X-rated cool. So it was only natural for me to go approach the situation anyway, because I'm the only one probably out of these Bloods that's really cool with the dude that can get close enough to do what I do.
Right.
So I walk up straight up to him, and just soon as we walk up, it's like, "Hey, what's up, G Slim?" And I just take off. Now it's a big ride between the chosen few Bloods and the Sacramento car. I mean, the up north Crips, basically, because he was with a gang. He always kept a little entourage with him. So he was with the entourage. We all out there chunking them, fighting them, doing our little kid, because it's kitty thing. We're doing our little kitty thing. It wasn't no knife play or nothing like that. We just out there squabbling. Dudes coming from the yards and boop, bop, bam. They put us down. After the incident, they put us down. They cuff us up, all that. They sent us to the 5 building, put us all in a pre-hold. Now, this is the pre-hold. I end up but this is I say we never do this. It's not personal. Anything that happens in these things in prison, the stuff don't be personal. It's just business.
And so any idea why the Bloods from up north, the Sacramento Bloods, who was of course closer in proximity in geographical terms, why didn't they step up and handle the situation? Why did it take a Blood from down south from LA to get involved in this situation, as far as you know?
As far as I know about the situation, and that was brought up afterwards, it was like, I guess it was like we just a little bit more active in the situation. But like I say, the pebble and the ripple effect. You know what I'm saying? I was the pebble.
Right.
And the ripple effect. We came and we never understood. It's like, in our personal situation, it's like, why you let this dude, if you was actually here, why you let him stay on the yard?
Right.
This is y'all beef. And this is like, afterwards, we all came out though. Mind you, I bought a big old sack of weed and passed it out to everybody that was in the ride. Blood or Crip. Everybody that was in the ride, I passed out my whole sack. To everybody. I made sure everybody, Blood and Crip, we were all in there getting high. Everybody. Because it wasn't personal with me. It was just business.
Right.
So after we come out, the Crips came and was like, you messed up, G Slim. I'm like, what you mean? Like, you messed up. You know what I'm saying? You didn't ask permission to touch another Crip. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And the Crip that told me this, man, we actually cool. It was the older Crip, Hoover Lime. He told me that. Like, you fucked, and Long Beach brother Jed. Yeah, he told me, he's like, yeah, you fucked up.
And Hoover Line is a real well-known individual from Hoover. Exactly.
Happened to be one of him and one of my OG homies, Rooster from Paru, from 30 Paru. They were like best friends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And before Rooster left prison, Rooster told Hoover Lime, you got to watch my little brother right there. Watch my son. You know what I'm saying? Hoover Lime always watched over me the whole time I was on that yard. Always watched over me. The Hoovers always watched over me. Always.
And so now back to the scene. So here Hoover Line is telling you that you basically messed up by putting your hands on a CRIP without getting it sanctioned.
Exactly. So they cleared it. We go back in the building. I end up making it back to one building. They let everybody back. The only person that didn't come back was X-rated. He the only person that didn't come back. But everybody else went back. So they let it go back up. Now the Crip, you know, the word's going around with y'all, you know, come out to the yard, the Crips is gonna get the bloods. But all the Crips and Bloods are so cool on the yard, man. It's just like, instead of everybody just like, let's just get this over with inside the buildings and take off individually like it was war. Wasn't nobody even tripping. We was all in the building still doing what we doing, hanging out with each other until they opened up the doors and let us out for yard. When they opened up the doors and let us out for yard, all the Bloods was in one corner. And it was 101 Crips. It was 33 Bloods. It was 100. It was one. It was, if I can get in there, I'll show you the paper. I still got my paperwork. I got all my paperwork. It was 101 Crips. And it was 33 Bloods on the yard. And the 101 Crips walked around the yard in a big ass line. They all walked around the yard. Now, mind you, we standing in the middle of the yard just watching 101 Crips walk around the yard. They got in front of one building, and then the tower said, yard recall. As soon as he said yard recall, all 101 Crips started rushing towards the Bloods. And the crazy part about that is when they start rushing toward the LA Bloods, all the Crips didn't come. The main hitters of the Crips, they turned and went straight to the Sacramento card. And they left us alone, basically. We were fighting the oddballs that didn't know the plan.
Right.
Those are the only people that we were fighting with, the dudes that didn't know actually what they were supposed to be doing. So we were just fighting a couple of them, and the Crips went after the Sacramento Blood card, and they went after them, all because this dude been on the yard the whole time and they didn't handle their business. But the only reason why they had to, you know what I'm saying, because it wasn't sanctioned, and the ripple effect of what you did caused all this.
Right.
So the person that told me to do it will call me and sanction me to do it. You know, he was one of my homies. As soon as we all got released back to the yard, I had to get him.
For basically sending you on a bad mission?
Sending me on a bad mission. Yep, sending me on a bad mission.
Wow. And so do you know now the dude who was on the yard, you said, who was related to the lady who passed away, was he a Crip or was he a Blood?
No, he was a Blood. He was a Blood.
Right.
He was Blood. He was one of my partners. He was one of my partners. To this very day, he's still my partner. He's still locked up though, but he's one of my partners.
Yeah. And then so what transpired between you and the guy that sent you on the bad mission? Just you guys had a fist fight, or?
Yeah, we had a knuckle up. I tried to get him in the chow hall. He was in the other chow. I tried to sneak in the chow hall, but I couldn't get to him in the chow hall. Then you know what I'm saying, when we came out the chow hall, he happened to come out. So when I seen him, you know what I'm saying, he was known with a good left hand. But, you know, I tricked him, and I went to shake his hand with my left hand, but he didn't realize what I was doing. And by him being left-handed, he actually shook my hand, so I held his hand. When I held his hand, I made sure that left hand wasn't released because he's a hard hitter. So I just held his hand and we just, you know, wouldn't let him go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then about 3 or 4 of my other homies, they seen me squabbling and ran over there, and we just dusted him off from there. You know what I'm saying? So it started off as a 1-on-1, it ended up being like a 4-on-1.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so as a result of that, did you end up ever being transferred as a result of that, or?
No, as a result of that, let's see. That was Salinas Valley. I stayed in Salinas Valley until they closed the A yard down. They closed the A yard down and started sending people to Corcoran. And I had a dock hearing, so I couldn't leave the prison because I was within a certain limit to my dock hearing as for the board, getting prepared for the board.
Right.
So they sent me to B yard, and then from B yard, I sat on B yard for about a year and some change. And like I said, I ended up doing like 21 months in the hole for conspiracy to hit the police. It's conspiracy to assault staff.
Now, how did that come about? Did somebody drop a kite on you or something, or?
Brother dropped a kite on me, saying that we was plotting to hit the police. And mind you, we've been on lockdown for like 2 months, so it's like, where you come up with this information from?
Right.
So he dropped the kite saying that I was conspiring, that I was the ringleader of hitting the police. So when they come scoop me up, send me to the hole, I sat in the hole for probably like 2 weeks, and they end up making the incident packet. When I get an incident packet, it's a little bit too big. I'm like, hold on, what's all this? And then Lieutenant was like, man, unfortunately, man, I didn't even believe it, but it's like 5 staff been assaulted. I'm like, what the hell going on? So, they saying it actually happened, but all the assaults was like frivolous stuff that didn't have nothing to do with it. It just so happened within that 2 weeks, that's what was going on. You know what I'm saying? One incident, this is to say it wasn't, I didn't have nothing to do with. One incident was one of my partners, the police, he just grabbed the police keys through a trace line.
Uh-huh.
Another incident, the dude didn't get something that he wanted, so he pushed the police. So that's 2. Another incident, another brother that was a CRIP, he got mad at the police at the shower, spit on the police. That's 3.
Right.
Another incident on Christmas Day, the brother get mad and socked the police. That's 4. Another incident, somebody in another building did something that had nothing to do with nobody, period. That was 5. They counted all them 5 incidents, put it on the incident report, and then said I did it. I conspired to do all that stuff.
And do you feel that whoever dropped the kite on you, they dropped the kite on you because they wanted you off the yard, or why did they?
It was a fluctuation of a lot of, we was doing our thing, we having fun, we doing our thing, we young, we got a chance to do things that, a lot of people, everybody was doing their thing, but sometimes we exclude people. You know what I'm saying? You ain't with the business, so we got to give you something for.
So you felt it was like maybe possibly one of your homies, somebody that was jealous and just trying to get you off the yard?
It was one of my homies. It was like, you ain't giving us no, we can't get none of this stuff coming in. No, you ain't getting nothing, bro. You ain't with this program. Right. You know what I'm saying?
So out of all the prisons that you done time with, which one would you say was the worst in terms of violence?
In terms of violence, was the worst. I gotta say, I'll probably say Calipat. Calipat was, in terms of violence. Only reason why Salinas Valley was violent is because they had that green wall there. So it was a lot of things going on that was up under the table. So they had it was a lot of murders happening at that prison. But it wasn't because I spent a lot of time. I spent like 9 years there. So, majority of that time was on A yard. And I can't say what was going on. I knew what was going on other yards, but we wasn't rocking like that on that yard. So we wasn't politicking. Bloods and Crips wasn't tripping on each other. We wasn't doing it. It wasn't none of that. It was everybody who was in the same age group was kicking it. Whether you from LA to the Bay, we didn't give a damn.
Right.
This is what we do. We the YG generation, man. We don't care what you old dudes is talking about. This is what we doing. We smoke weed together. We work out together. We do all this together. Everybody. We don't care we ain't with none of that. We didn't know where people was from unless you forced us to know.
Right, right.
You would never know I was mingling with family, so I just put it out there all the time. That's how cool we were. You can find me anytime sitting in the cell with a CRIP dude wondering why you ain't on the yard. Oh, he over there with so and so, man. He in the cell. They in the cell all getting drunk, or they all getting high. They all in the cell watching the game together. It's like 5 dudes in the cell watching the game right now. We wasn't on that yard. We wasn't with all that.
Right.
Now you got B yard politicking, riots and Bay Area brothers getting into it. You got C and D yard 180 yards. They really politicking. You know what I'm saying? Because they stay on lockdown. We wasn't with it. Now I made it to C yard, but they was on lockdown when I got over there, so I didn't see nothing over there.
Right. And so how did you finally end up being paroled and coming home as a lifer, as a individual having a life sentence?
Well, that law came out, the juvenile law. And mind you, I caught my case at 19. So the juvenile law came out, and I was in Solano. I had made it all. I had went from New Folsom to Solano. Now there was a little incident that happened in Solano. I mean, in New Folsom, where the brother got stabbed by an Asian, and they wanted repercussions. And I was like one of the young dudes on the yard. But my cellie, he was like a G. He was like, they're not going to release the yard until you leave, bro. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's my cellie. He's older than me. So he's my G homie. You know what I'm saying? He's actually one up from my hood. So he's like, they're not going to release this yard until you leave. Watch. We can't come off lockdown unless you gone. I'm like, why? He's like, because you're going to initiate the combat in this building. So they're not going to release the yard. And Lord behold, man, I happen to pack my property. So I'm sitting there on edge and we kicking out. And the police just came they had like 2 lieutenants and sergeants and ISU, which is goon squad. And they said, we got a van waiting for you.
Special transport.
Yeah, special transport. I'm like, where am I going? And he's like, man, we got a van waiting for you. Don't trip. It's like, you going to a level 3 yard. You've been overriding. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. So when I walk into the van is pulled up in front of the building. I'm like, what about my property? He's like, oh, we'll get your property. You got to leave now.
And so do you have any idea what the brother and the Asian dude got into it about?
Oh, it was some. I had a homie on the yard, man, that was kind of he had lost it in his mind. So it wasn't no racial tension. It wasn't nothing. He just lost it. And he tried to attack the Asian, but didn't know the Asian was built like that.
Right.
The Asian came ready for combat. So he ended up having my homie on the ground, and he started stabbing him. And
Asian did?
Yeah, he was just on the ground. Yeah, he had my homie on the ground, was just on the ground stabbing him, just hitting him. You know what I'm saying? But the initial contact wasn't. The Asian dude was peaceful, man. His name was Doc. He was a peaceful dude. He wasn't with that. He wasn't on no BS. So I already knew. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't him. And so everybody was, but it wasn't him. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't him. My homie, his senses he didn't have them. He was just out there. He had been to the hole for a long time. He was kind of off. You know what I'm saying? But retaliation had to happen. So
And so what was that retaliation?
I heard about it, and it happened to be the white boy. Yep, the white boy because in New Folsom they got the low side and the high side. So the low side, I was on buildings 1 through 4, and then I think 5 through 8, something like that on the back. I think so. Then you got the south sides on one side and the northerners on the other. The south sides and the northerners can't mix in New Folsom. They can't come in contact, so they made a small side and a big side. So I was on the big side, and the white boy I was telling you about, Ghost, he was on the small side. So not knowing everything that's transpired over here and not knowing what happened, Ghost just took off. Him and his celly, they just came out like, you know, the Asians did this to the homies. This is what we got to do, and not even knowing the real truth about what went on.
Right.
So
it wasn't necessarily a planned attack. The brothers just came out and just jumped the gun due to assuming that
due to non-communication.
Right.
No communication. We had no way getting no word over there, nothing like that. You know, the cell phone thing wasn't really popping on that yard like that. Not yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you
He
know,
just came out and attacked the first agent he saw, just assuming that it was going to be a race war.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And mind you, when that happened, we outside playing softball when that happened. So, you know.
And so what was it like for you, you know, after doing all that time, finally going to the board, being found suitable, learning that you was going to come home?
I went to the board the first time in like 2012 and got denied. I did all that study and got denied. You know, when you study for that board, man, and you go up in there and you get denied, that takes a chunk out of you.
Right.
You know, that make you lose a lot of faith, man, because I was doing a lot of studying. I was taking classes, taking psychology classes. I was running in psych groups and trying to get prepared to go talk to this board, and they just shot me down for 5 years.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand, like you said, preparing to go to the board is a very mentally exhausting process. And you know, it's a whole lot goes into it. So then when you go in there, you go through all that, you put the work in, and then they tell you to come back in 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very discouraging and depressing process. And then, like you say, you know, I'm sure at that time you've probably already been in jail 17, 18 years, maybe more, you know.
Exactly.
So when they tell a person come back in 5 years, you know, that's really like a whole nother sentence. If they told you to come back in a year after doing 16, 17 years, that's a long time.
Exactly.
Let alone 5 years, you know, that's like a whole, I got a 5-year denial myself. And so I definitely know that's like a whole nother, you know, whole nother sentence. And it's extremely mentally discouraging.
Yeah. I felt defeated, man. I got back to the cell and was like, they was like, what happened? I told them what happened, man. And they was like, man, you know, don't worry about it, man. I said, nah, man, go get me a phone in the sack.
You know what I'm up, huh?
Yeah. It's time to open up this game, man. They ain't letting nobody go home. And that's my whole mind frame, man. They was faking, man. All that shit I did, man. You know, I'm in my mind, I'm like, man, I ain't tripping on this shit. Fuck this board. And I went and got back in the game. Like, I need some money. I'm cool.
Right.
Start playing with them phones and all that. And I ended up going Solano. I ended up going to the 2 yard. And I went to the board again and got a 3-year denial. Yep, but I am going to the board. When I went to the board the second time, I had 2 phones and a threatening staff.
Yeah, so you had a write-up of 2 phones and threatening staff?
And a threatening staff. So I went to the board with that, and my mind frame was, you know, when you go to the board, you through.
Right.
So, but I did all my studying. This time I got better prepared. You know what I'm saying? So, and actually this time when I went to the board, I was really changed. So when I went to the board, you know what I'm saying? I had Miss Turner that board, and she was like,
some people used to call her Mother Love. For those
Love. Yep.
For those people who are not familiar with what we're talking about, Miss Turner was a Black commissioner who sat on the parole board, and she had a very higher rate than the rest of the commissioners for parole and lifers, because he's talking at a time in the California prison system where very few lifers was being let out anyway. And so you had like a total, I believe it was 12 commissioners, and a lot of these commissioners, you know, were known for giving people a hard time and denying them. So yeah, people used to hope and pray that when they went in there, Miss Turner was their commissioner, who was a Black lady.
And the first one I had when I got the 5, I had Anderson.
A Black dude. Anderson's a Black dude. I believe ex-sheriff up out of Compton.
Highway Patrol.
Ex-highway patrol up out of Compton. Yeah.
Yep.
I knew those dudes very well. You know, like I say, for those of us who was going to the board and paid attention, we studied the commissioners, all that type of stuff. And so, what did Mother Love, Miss Turner, tell you?
Miss Turner told me I came in there and I threw myself on the sword. After I threw myself on the sword, I built myself back up. And then she was like, she straight up told me, you came in here with 2 phones and threatening staff. And she was like, but you are the definition of never judge a book by its cover. And she said, she said she had papers right here on her desk. It was a desk. She had papers right there. She said, I had this for you. She said, you know what that is? I said, nope.
7-year denial, maybe?
She said that was a 10.
Oh, wow.
That was a 10-year denial. She said, I had this paper too. You know what that paper is? I said, nope. She said, that was a 5-year denial. She said, but I got this paper right here. You know what this is? I said, no, ma'am. She said, this is a 3-year denial. She said, do you deserve to go home today? I said, no, ma'am, I don't. She said, why? I said, because you require 5 years of clean time, and I only got 2 years and 8 months. So she said, you know what? That's when she told me, you're the definition of don't judge a book by its cover. She said, this is the reason why I'm going to give you 3 years. And she said, I guarantee if you come back within 18 months, you can go home. I said, ma'am, I'm coming back in 3 years. She said, why? I said, because I'm going to give you the whole 3 years clean. She said, when you come back in 3 years, I'm going to be on this board. I'm going to let you go home. But
and for those of you guys who don't know, the California parole system is set up like this. You know, at one point in time, they can only give us like a 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year denial. I believe around 2009, they voted in some laws. So now when you went to the board, you could get a 3-year denial, a 5, a 7, a 10, or even a 15-year denial according to your you're right, Marcy's law, according to your behavior in prison. So imagine doing 20 years, 25 years, 15 years, and you go in there and they tell you come back in 10 years. You know, it's very disheartening. So the next time you went back to the board, did you happen to have Miss Turner, or who did you have?
No, the next time it was a cold story. I ended up transferring from Solano. I went to Soledad, level 2. Now I'm on level 2. I end up going from the level 2 yard, and now they start letting lifers go to the level 1 yard. I went to the Soledad 1 yard, and I ended up going to the board, and that's crazy because I don't even know this commissioner name. And he said, before we start this proceeding, he said, I'm from Bakersfield. And I was like, yeah. And he said, do you have a problem with that? I said, no. He said, I was your co-defendant's attorney. And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah, I was your co-defendant's attorney. And he said, your attorney is actually a judge now, Summer.
Okay.
I was
so
like,
since you had been charged and caught the charges in Bakersfield, he was just making sure that it wasn't going to be a conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. He said, do you have any reasons, you know, is this conflict? I said, no, let's go on the proceedings. So we went on the proceedings, and he hit me with the questions and all that. And lunchtime, you know, by this time it's COVID, so we're on a computer, we're on doing this now.
Okay.
So he's like, now mind you, it's just lunchtime. So I only been in there for like an hour, not even probably, an hour. So he's like, all right, Mitchell, he's like, let me ask you a question. Why did you know, why is this not a conflict of interest? I said, man, you know what? If anybody knows the truth about how my case went and what happened, you knew. You was there. You know everything that happened in my case. So you know I wasn't lying about nothing that went on. I told everything the way it was. And he said, man, if you ever thought about your decision making in life, he said that was the smartest decision you ever made to make me your commissioner. He said, you know, you're going home today, right? I already found you suitable. And after that, I swear to God, the next 3 hours, I didn't hear what nobody said.
Wow.
So I couldn't tell you what nothing happened. That's why I can't even remember the dude's name. I couldn't. I got his name down there because, like I say, I still got all my paperwork from prison.
And you know, a lot of lifers would say that, and I kind of felt that too when I went in there and was found suitable my second time. They've pretty much already made their decision before you come up in there, reading the prior statements. You know, they can tell your growth in the earlier hearings that you had. They can read the case and see if things is lining up. So they, you know, unless you just go in there and say something extremely crazy, a lot of times their mind is already made up.
Yep.
And so what was it like, man? Like I said, I asked you earlier, just, you know, coming home after doing all that time, you know, things that changed with all the new technology and stuff. What was it like to just be free when I'm sure there was a time when you never thought you'd be free?
It was man. You know, I didn't really. I felt because I had to get in the van and I was in the back of the van, but this time I didn't have no cuffs. You know, and they brought me from Salinas all the way to here to the Bay Area. So, you know, I just sat there and just looked at the cars, and since it was COVID, they had me in a hotel.
Oh, okay.
So I was in a hotel for 2 weeks. They had me on COVID watch. Now, mind you, I'm in a hotel. I ain't got no parole officer, nothing. I can't see nobody.
Right.
Like the third day, you know, we've been drinking coffee for 30 years, man. I need my coffee.
Yeah.
So I wake up that second day, like, damn, I need some coffee. So I walk outside the hotel, and it's so much traffic and it's so much freedom. I was scared to walk down the street.
Wow.
So I walked back in like I can't do it. I got on the phone, kicked it. The next day, the third day, I came outside. I walked to the light and sat at the light and hit the light. The light started talking. I'm like, you know, and I was like, nah, I'm cool. And I went back in.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking and smiling because it kind of reminds me of that scene in Shawshank Redemption when the old man had done all that time and he got out and the world had changed so much. You know, the cars was going by and he was scared and nervous and ended up committing suicide. But yeah, people don't understand, man, what it's like to, you know, you done a lifetime in prison, 30 years. You know, the world definitely changed. Technology had changed and got advanced, and just to you know, get out and how, you know, some things overwhelm us. For me, when I first got out, looking at the menus in restaurants would just baffle me because there was so much stuff to order. You know, in prison, we didn't have a choice. You know, the biggest list we had was a canteen list or a package list. Yeah,
canteen or the food sale list.
Right. And so, you know, it might be 5 or 6 items on there. But so to look up at a restaurant board and see 30, 40 items and just so much stuff, it's you know, it was just, you know, overwhelming, you know, sensory overload a little bit.
Yeah, the CDC officers took me to Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
We got up, we pulled up in front of Chick. He's like, man, you hungry? And I'm like, yeah. We pulled up in front of Chick-fil-A, and they, you know, like I was just a backseat driver. They just popped the van open, and you know, the people look, and everybody scattered to the side. I'm walking in there with 2 COs, and they like, here, this yours, and they give me an envelope, and it's that debit card. You know, so they like, man, go get you something to eat, man. So I walk up to the counter and tell the lady what I want, and I give her the card, like, you know, and she just looking at me like, what you want me to do with this? Like, here.
Right.
She's like, no, put it in there. And I'm like, put it in what? And, you know, I see the box. I'm like, man, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, hey, man, I just did 30 years in prison, mama. Can you help me with this? Right. And she was like, man, and she went and did it for me. And she started smiling. Everybody looking, because it looked like I'm some kind of arm, you know, like, the hell is this dude?
Right.
Yeah, but, you know, Chick-fil-A, and yeah, that fourth day I ended up getting some coffee.
And you know, that remind me real quick of a story that I have when I had just got out. I was in the halfway house. A friend of mine who I was locked up with, and he'd done around 30 years. He came. By this time, I'm in a transitional house. I have a car. So we drive, we go to El Polo Loco. He ordered his food. Now, this is the second day that he's been home after doing 30 years. He orders his food, and the people from behind the counter, they hand him a cup. And he looking at the cup, an empty cup. He looking at the cup. He say, what the hell you want me to do with this? You know, not realizing that now the soda machines is not behind there, they're over in the front where you can go get your own soda. And just seeing that just made me smile, just stuff like that. I would always marvel when I was at the transitional house, watching people, lifers come home who had been in jail 25, 30 years, how they'd be outside, trying to figure out technology and stuff like that. Unless you go through it, you just can't understand it,
Yeah. It's a blessing, man. It's a blessing. It's a really good feeling, man.
And then earlier, at the start of the interview, you said, you just had a son not too long ago. I want to give you my congratulations on that, man. I know life must be good right about now.
Man, it is the best feeling I thought all the blessings in my life, you know what I'm saying? I thought freedom was going to be the best one, but after holding him in my hands for the first time, this is my first child. I ain't had no kids. So It's like this, I can't stop looking at him. I had to, I got to remind him and my girl, like, you know what I'm saying? You're taking my gangster away from me, man. Got me crying, and
Hey, that's definitely a great thing, man. It's time for us, and many of us who've done all that time, put our gangster away. Let these young kids have the street if that's what they want to do. And go ahead and enjoy some of the things, because there's no way to get back. But enjoy some of the things that we miss, and just try to make the best of the years that we have left.
Yeah. It's a beautiful feeling, man. It's very, every time I look at him, I just sit there and stop and look. I'm kind of mad. I'm gonna have to go back to work next week. I want to spend some more time.
Yeah, you gotta put that work in. He gonna need Jordans and toys and basketballs, boxing gloves, or whatever you want to give him, man.
But a lot of my brothers, man, because it's a lot of brothers out here from the Bay that did a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? We was working in one company, they reinforce how good of a father that we can be.
Most definitely.
They let you know, man. Hey, you gonna be a great father, man. A daddy and a father, man.
And you know what? I think that a lot of us, if we have the maturity, we can be a better father than most, because we've seen both sides of the coin. We know what walking the straight and narrow will get you. We know what walking the path of the devil to get you. And there's no question of a doubt in my mind, you're definitely going to instill these things in your son and let him know, and so I already know, man, just talking to you a little bit, you're going to be a great father, man. Salutes, my hats off to you, and congratulations once again, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, and I really appreciate you coming on the show, man, sharing your experience with me, man. I wish you the best once again. And anything else you want to say before we get up out of here? Man,
I really appreciate this experience, man. I finally, it's the first time I ever got to talk to somebody. So, it's cool, man. This is a very, very positive program. I hope to see a lot of other brothers get on here and tell their stories too.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. And if you know anybody who has an interesting story that wants to come on here and share their experience, I'll be happy to have them, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right. I will pass your information along.
All right. Thank you, man. And hey, you already know what time it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.
Niggas say something. We was out there post, slid it through. Niggas say something. You from over there, stay over there before we change one. I just said for 6, you gave me 2, now I got 8 of them. I hate niggas that post and be in person trying to play dumb. Hate niggas that be on all them passes but ain't take none. Just chop a cannibal, it like to eat and it just ate something. No, you can't come. Told you only pose up in this Lola, bro. You can't come. Told you everybody know my name, don't have to say nothing. Told you cut on chip and pistol whip, these niggas hate guns. This chopper cannibal, it like to eat and it just ate something. Catch me a little op and he in Sandals, where you running to? I just found 2 bitches, hard to choose, but I need one of you. Nigga, what? Bro told me it's static in the section, OMW. Bro told me it's passes in the section, give me one of them. Called me a little oppie in the section, what you running from? Nigga, what? Spot me a little Johnny in the section, put Poe under some Balenciaga steppers, I'ma fully put bro under him. Wonder how more Tiny play with 5, but he still thundered him. Told you it get bad if they don't label me as number 1. Bro just said about ATM, don't link, this shit ain't none of us. Bro just said about Jack, shit get cracking, that's my number 1. Hey. Chink, bleeder, I froze them. Sliding through they block, they mistaking me for Frozone. Tryna slide with me? Hold on. Did it by myself, I ain't that nigga till get told on. Spend the night, that's a no-go. My bitch be tweaking so she see me put my coat on. Come get your bro before he get stolen. Whipped out his pole, we sunk them way above the ozone. Chink, bleeder, I froze them. Sliding through they block, they mistaking me for Frozone. You tryna slide with me? Hold on. Did it by myself, I ain't the nigga till get told on. Spend the night, that's a no-go. My bitch be tweaking so she see me put my coat on. Come get your bro before he get stolen. Whipped out his pole, we sunk them way above the ozone. Nigga say something. We was out there post, slid it through. Nigga say something. You from over there, stay over there before we change one. I just hit for 6, she gave me 2, now I got 8 of them. Nigga, what? I hate niggas that post and be in person trying to play dumb. Hate niggas that be on all them passes but ain't take none. Just chop a cannibal, they like to eat and it just ate something. Oh, you can't come. Told you only pose up in his Lola, bro, you can't come. Told you everybody know my name, don't have to say none. Told you cut on chip, pistol whip, these niggas hate guns.
Hate them bitches, hate guns. Hate them bitches.
Hey, something, catch me up, where you going?